Further, today the probability of seeing the Dow closing on all-time high at the weekly level, if not on the basis of daily time period, is quite good. After Monday's solid start, the Dow has traded in a narrow range. Even the Fed's monetary policy release failed to provide a fresh impetus from last couple of sessions of price action. We can infer that the Dow is taking a breather after rallying strongly in prior week. The underlying bullish momentum is likely to keep it pushing higher with the incremental gains. Looking at the data docket, we had the important economic release for the euro area. Inflation has reached 2.2% in terms of year on year, the highest level since October 2018, mainly on back of higher energy prices. The GDP growth is also looking promising with reading of 2.0% in terms of quarter on quarter for the quarter ended June 2021. It's coming after two consecutive quarters of decline. Improvement in economic activity has resulted in lower unemployment rate of 7.7% for the month of June. Moving to the US economic data, PCE price index, which is tracked by the Federal Reserve for setting the monetary policy, is holding steady at 4% in terms of year on year for the month of June, while core PCE price index has slightly risen to 3.5% in terms of year on year this month compared to the prior month's reading of 3.4%. Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index is pointing to moderation in people's propensity to go out and spend, with the July's print at 81.2% compared to 85.5% of prior months. At the same time, the inflation expectations have inched higher. Now let's see what's happening on the technical side. We will consider the outlook for Dow Jones Industrial Average, and after that we will also see the technical outlook for the gold XAU in terms of USD. Let's start with the Dow Jones Industrial Average technical outlook. This is the daily time frame chart, and this week the Dow has spent the almost all of the week in consolidation closer to this 35,000 level, and it looked likely that today's closing is also going to be in this narrow range. We are not really observing any fresh momentum which is likely to force a breakout in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So we can say more or less the closing is going to be in this range somewhere close to 35,200. Right now the low is closer to 35,000 rather than 35,200, and I'm not really expecting any big move. So let's see what's the likely scenario in which we can profit from the Dow. The underlying momentum is bullish, but now the gains have plateaued, and we have seen the Dow consolidating below this first resistance of this 1 point pivot point series, and that is a big hurdle to cross, and I'm not really expecting any breakout in today's session. Maybe by the time we come back for trading on Monday, we will have a new series and maybe new momentum along with that, and then we can think about going in for a big swing trade. In today's session, it will be better to stick within the range and try to go for a long trade closer to the low immediate swing lows while targeting the day's high or immediate swing highs as the target price. The momentum is still bullish, and that makes the choice of going with a buy trade more profitable, or the probability of profit is higher, you can say. If we look at this regression curve, it has also flattened as the price action has gone sideways. The only thing to take note of is that price action still remains in this upper band of this regression curve, which implies the undertone to be bullish. And for pinpointing the exact entry point to optimize the trade setup, we will have to take help of this hourly formation where we have these two SMAs converging closer to 35,000. On the lower side, we have this 200 SMA, which is around 34,850, and I think this is the price area where you can keep a stop loss level, keep a stop loss just little below this 200 SMA, and that should serve you well. Unless there is any fresh breakout on the lower side, the stop loss is not going to be tested, and we can continue to safely scalp while using this range, the narrow range. And I think if any trade has to be taken, it has to be taken with the stop loss and take profit combination of a quite low percentage point. If you want to go for any buy trade in today's session, the target price should not really be more than 150 to 200 points, and for that you will have to target the buy trade as close as possible to 35,000. And on the higher side, the immediate swing high, the yesterday's high established around 35,160, can be utilized as our immediate target. And as I said, the stop loss will have to be kept below this 200 SMA zone. So that is going to get you the risk reward ratio just little above 1 is to 2. Not that great, but looking at the price formation, I think that is the best choice to go with. Now, shifting our attention to the commodity segment, we will consider the gold. In last session also I had talked about the gold, and if we look at yesterday's gains, it's quite probable that gold is also taking a breather in today's session. The price action has been quite narrow. We are not really seeing any fresh impetus in today's session, and it's quite likely that we will see the gold closing somewhere close to 1820 USD per ounce levels. And if we consider this price formation, it is now of higher highs and higher low. Not exactly higher high. The high looks identical, but the low is higher, and we can utilize this low form closer to the levels of 1790 to act as the critical marker. If you are looking for swing trades, then the stop loss will have to be kept below these immediate swing lows, and the buying should be done as close as possible to the levels of 1810. And for that we will have to wait for some correction. If you are looking for scalping trades, then lower time frames are likely to prove more helpful. We have the central pivot point level closer to closer to 1812, and this can be utilized as a critical marker. Anything above it, and we should be in favor of the buy trades. And as long as price action is on the higher side, it will be better for us to keep looking for the buy trade here while targeting this price zone. If we look at the price formation and the regression curve, it is more of an sideways momentum. There is no fresh breakout just yet. We will have to see the gold closing and sustaining itself above this immediate swing high, and that hasn't really happened. And I think gold might take a couple of days more, but as long as it is holding well above these immediate swing highs, we can be fairly confident that it will eventually move on the higher side. And to optimize our entry, we can rely on these lower time frame formation where we have these SMAs converging closer to the levels of US dollar 1800, and these two SMAs can be determining factor in the outlook of gold in near term. We can target the gold's entry closer to these 50 SMA or thereabout while keeping the stop loss below these 200 SMA. And if we consider this prior formation, the lower time frame swing highs were established closer to this level. Then after that we got the breakout, and as long as these prior levels remain intact, we can rely on this formation while keeping the stop loss below these 200 SMA. And for that we will have to be quite cautious here. In today's session I am not really expecting any big move, and for next 2-3 sessions also we are more likely to see the gold consolidating after these gains of around 2 percentage point. But after that we can expect the gold to move higher and eventually even the levels close to 1900 USD per ounce looks possible. So we should be waiting on that. And for that, we do have to optimize the entry, and this formation can be quite helpful to that extent. So that's my take looking at the gold price formation. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me in the feedback section and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instrument, and one should be careful while using the information provided. For further coverage of the market developments, you can follow our Radioscopy Analytics page to start trading. The JForex platform is at your service. We are also available on the Facebook. You can follow our Facebook page. Thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous day and the weekend ahead. See you on Monday. Goodbye.